you've got to look back to, what was it, about a week and a half ago now, where there were those peace talks. And look, I sort of hope, and I think many people hope, that maybe there is beginning to be those kind of open lines of communication between, at least between the aides, between kind of the King's Communications Secretary and some new members of Harry's team that have come in. So you would hope, and certainly talking to some people behind the scenes, I know that there are now suggestions that, yeah, it probably wasn't wise that he did that, half an hour interview with the BBC?
So Harry, though, wasn't it?
It was so Harry. Yeah. I've done interviews with him in the past where he says, I'm not going to go there with personal stuff. You ask him a question and he can't help it. He immediately just opens up. And now he's unleashed, isn't he?
Maybe that's what got the ball rolling. Maybe the King did, would have watched it. I'm sure he would have seen something of it. And, he's a dad and he may have thought, well, actually, he may have a point. He's listened to his wife, Camilla, he's listening to his older son, both of which advise him against having anything to do with Harry. But you're still going to have a pang as a dad. If you're not very well and you have no idea about your own mortality, all you know is you're living with cancer, you're going to have certain things that you want to sort out. And one of those would be, your son. And he equally loves his son, Harry, as he does William. And in fact, he was closer to Harry before all this happened. So, I don't know, Harry is shot from the hip, but maybe it sort of landed on the target somewhere.
They do live this peculiar life, though, don't they? Like, most of us have the odd falling out within our families, but we don't have aides that we fall back on to go, well, you go and sort bits of it out. So I thought it was really interesting that finally there seems to be at least this open communication between the King's team and Harry's team, which simply hasn't been there from all the conversations I've had. It's not been there. And it's kind of, I think, probably trying to get rid of some of the really unnecessary negative stories. Like, I don't know, for example, Harry's out on a job on the same day that his dad's in Canada, and immediately we're all jumping on it going, oh, Harry's snubbed his dad. When Harry doesn't know the diary of his father. So I think some of it is quite practical, not necessarily how we're going to have the photo op where father and son are embracing. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes it comes down to very practical stuff of how can we try and stop there being an own goal when it comes to negative
There needs
stories.
to be a bit of a campaign, an organised campaign, a bit like there was Operation Mrs P Beads. If they want to repair so that there was an acceptance again before they were at the Ritz together. I think there's been so much damage created by Harry and shooting from the hip as he does. And I think if they want to try to get a sense of closure over this, which is they do need it before there's any change of reign or anything like that. The last thing you want is a narrative going forward with King William not speaking to Harry and the whole thing becoming even bigger. So I think there does need to be some sort of closure on it. And they are starting to have those conversations, but I still think there are a long way to go. I can't believe people will be accepting of Harry ever really having any formal role again.
Have only you guys ever had to hide from a royal in your beat?
No, it just sounds it could be you, mate. To be honest.
No, it is me as well. It is the perils of our job because you have these run-throughs, don't you? Of right, this is where the royal's going to go, and you need to stand here, and you need to stand there, and then they go rogue, don't they? The royals go rogue. And there was one moment, and we actually were on this job together, weren't we? It was during COVID times. I think they kind of had a bit of a loosening up of lockdown. And we were in Battersea Park, and it was the then Duchess of Cambridge, so Kate, was wandering around these gardens. And I was completely in the wrong way, so I had to sort of retreat into a bush, literally hide.
Have you been doing a piece to camera doing it there? Into
a bush. And she did laugh, to be fair.
She did.
She thought it was hilarious. I felt like
an idiot. Have you ever done one of those ones where you're doing your piece to camera and then
I've never had a Prince Philip on my shoulder.
The Prince Philip on the shoulder was the best. And he goes, really? No, that was fantastic.
No, I've never had that. But that's the other peril of my job.
Piece to camera when they hear you.
Yeah, well, exactly. If you're saying something...
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. When you're trying to say something that's a bit sort of newsy and maybe not quite on topic.
Look at those photographs of Charlotte at Wimbledon. And there was a lot of focus on it, a little bit too much considering her age. But when she's 16, 17, she's going to be on the cover of every magazine. We won't be thinking about Harry or Meghan, we won't at all. And I remember, it shows how old I am. When William was 15 in Vancouver, I was there when he arrived with his brother who was 12, and they were on holiday and they were mobbed. It was scenes like you've never, it was like Beatlemania.
Watch the archive. It's
and I was
amazing,
there, it was unbelievable. And he freaked out completely, William, and had to go into this sort of area where Mark Bolan, the PR man, and his father had to talk him down, and he eventually came good. But he was only 3 years older than George is now.
Yeah.
So are we far away from seeing, George and Charlotte maybe going abroad with William and Catherine? Is that asking too much?
It'd be quite nice to see William and Catherine going abroad, to be honest. But I think it would be a good thing. I think an Australia visit with them, a New Zealand visit with them, I would have thought would be very much on the cards, because that sort of thing happened a lot. When the Queen and Philip were younger, they went on tours. Anne and Charles in their teens went with them. So I do think that will start to happen, yes.
But I think they have this real line, don't they, in terms of education comes first, family life comes first. That's why we see William and Kate putting ahead of anything, kind of spending time with the kids during.
But I think if William was
holidays.
king and Catherine was queen, in a few years' time, maybe,
they
will definitely take the
them.
children with them, as the Queen did and Prince Philip did.
But also, you're looking at shorter tours now. I don't think there's appetite from any of them to do these kind of.
Well, there's no royal yacht.
Kind of mega, kind of 3-week extravaganzas.
Yeah. So Prince George is the future, but not quite yet. But
I think we're going to see a bit more of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's been, like I said, this softly approach. And also, they realise there are certain key moments where it's only right that the children should be there. I was quite surprised that they had Louis as well out for the VE Day commemoration, sitting, watching that parade. It was quite a long time for him to be there and sort of be exposed in front of the cameras.
And they know that we're videoing it and watching it.
Yeah,
What is good also
like
for George,
that
this time they had the video they released as well. And so they were very aware of the
for his
footage
birthday.
as well, which is something that is definitely a progression, I think.
Yeah, but again, it's keeping control of how we see the children. And I get that. Look, as parents, people have their Instagram accounts, their Facebook accounts, their TikToks, whatever, and they decide what they want to share of the children. But they obviously realise there is this
Well, they've done
appetite.
it pretty well, I think, so far. I
think they're keeping us happy, aren't they? With kind of the odd little kind of public appearance and the
But as soon as Harry decides he wants to come back, you'll be there rolling out the red carpet. So, Harry, do you remember me?
I would just be interested to see what the future there looks like.
Right, just quickly, before we wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm already thinking about my summer holiday.
Oh, clocked out, yeah.
All right, so the King and Queen have been at Sandringham this week. Maybe their final official engagement at Sandringham Flower Show this week before they go for a very long break up to Birkhall, then Balmoral, William and Catherine. We might not see them for a while. What are we expecting from the royals this summer? What are we expecting for the King and Catherine and William to do? Do we just want them to chill out and wait for a big September? What's your thoughts?
King will be working every day.
Always does.
He'll be working with his red boxes every day. So it doesn't matter if he's in Sandringham or Balmoral, he'll be working probably till 11 o'clock at night, knowing him. But yeah, I think that the Waleses will probably go up to Balmoral for a while. I anticipate they'll probably go away. I mean, they do like a family holiday, maybe. We just don't get involved in that anymore. But I'm sure that the King will enjoy a long and restful time in Balmoral, but he'll be working.